Hey there! Welcome to the Distracted Librarians podcast. We're your friendly neighborhood bookworms with a penchant for all things pop culture.
Picture this as our digital campfire, where we dive into our latest obsessions, analyze our favorite distractions, and rediscover the joy of reading.
Whether you're a media enthusiast, a book lover, or just need a break from the daily grind, you've come to the right spot.
So kick back, relax, and get delightfully distracted with us.
Hey everybody! On this episode of Distracted Librarians, we are going to be talking about Wicked.
So just a heads up, as we go into this, we are going to be talking about the novel, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, as well as the stage musical and the first film. We're also going to speculate about the second film, which is coming out shortly, as of the air date of this episode. There will be spoilers. They simply cannot be avoided. So if you want to avoid those, maybe wait on this episode.
Bookmark this, listen to it next week after you go to the Thursday night premiere of Wicked for Good, as you should.
But if you're still here,
Yes.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Killian.
And I'm Drew.
All right. We have been wanting to talk about this topic for kind of a while, and it's mostly my fault that it's taken this long. I will just say that up front because I just saw the film and I am woefully behind. I'm so sorry, everybody. So now we feel like we can actually discuss appropriately. All right. So clearly you guys have read the book.
I read the book, the first book. So it's a quartet, all said and done. Mm-hmm. The first book is the only one that really feeds into Wicked, the stage show / movie. But I have only read the first book of the quartet.
Okay.
I have also only read the first one. I read it in its entirety back in high school, which was a number of years ago. And then I have also seen the musical on stage several times and watched the film so many times.
Okay. I read the book. I have read 3 of the books, I believe. But granted, this was a very long time ago. The first book came out in 1995. I think I read it probably around 2000. So that's over 20 years ago. And my memory is a little sketch, but I have looked online and I have refilled my brain with information about all of these wonderful books.
It is impressive that you found the book before the musical happened. I don't think it was that well known when it first came out.
It was not, but I worked in a bookstore.
Fair enough.
That'll do it.
And I really enjoyed the Oz books. And I'm talking about the kids series where there's 14 of them. Mm-hmm. I kind of just really love the lore of the whole Oz thing. And so when I saw the book, I was like, I'm going to have to check this out.
That's the other thing I wanted to kind of check in with first. I'm assuming we've all seen the classic Wizard of Oz movie.
Yes.
I know I've read just the Wizard of Oz, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book. I haven't read the rest of that series, but I've read the book a couple times, although it's been probably about as long since I read Wicked.
Yeah.
Have you read the book at all, Drew?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Have not read the book. This is the first time hearing that it's an extended series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. Yeah. And I loved them when I was a kid. I thought that it was super cool to just dive in a little bit deeper about this sort of world and all the different characters and the types of people and stuff. Very, very cool series. I don't know how it holds up in modern times. That might be kind of fun to read to my kids.
Yeah, I got to go back since starting to talk about this and all of Wicked becoming more well-known, I've wanted to go back and actually read that whole series just to have that frame of reference, just because it's interesting with the world in Wicked. So much of it is based off of the Wizard of Oz movie, but there are things that refer back to things from the book series. Mm-hmm. Ozma is from the book series and not something that's really referenced in the movie at all.
Sure.
So,
and just to be clear, I have not seen the musical, but I have read the book Wicked and saw the movie recently.
Gotcha.
So musicals are a little outside of my interest, but I'm interested to hear more about it. Yeah. Cool. So, what was our first experience with the Wicked story?
I was exposed to it before knowing the show existed.
Okay.
Because some of my high school friends and also my choir director discovered the show first.
Okay.
So my junior year of high school, Defying Gravity was chosen as the senior song that the choir performed at graduation ceremony.
Okay.
And we had, a choral workup of it. But the first time that the director introduced it to us, he played the Broadway soundtrack version. And all of my friends around me were already singing every word, including the spoken parts.
Oh my goodness.
And I had no frame of reference for what they were doing.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, if I don't catch up, I will die. Because that's what high school's like.
Exactly. Oh my
So
gosh.
I threw myself into it and listened to nothing else for 3 months and called myself obsessed.
Yeah.
I don't know when in high school I started hearing bits and pieces. Defying Gravity was the first thing that I heard from it, and I had no frame of reference for what it was from. I just heard someone sing Defying Gravity. Eventually, I figured out that it was from this musical. I ended up with the CD for this musical, and I found out that it was based on a book. And that is when I read the book.
Okay.
So I read the book before I ever saw the musical on stage. But I did hear the music first. Also, it wasn't the song for our graduation, but For Good was part of our senior slideshow at our senior talent show type night.
Yeah.
The day before graduation.
For Good
that was a thing.
For Good was my graduation song the year later. And my friend and I had the 2 duets.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Back when I was a choir boy.
I was a choir girl too.
Yes.
All right. Well, there are some very clear differences between the different versions.
Yes. The book is so much darker. If you are watching the movie and going, oh, this is a little much,
The book is even more.
the book is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we had an issue where, families were going to see the movie and then rushing to the library because they wanted their kids to read the book. And we were, in that odd predicament where we're like, well, it's not really going to be great for your 13-year-old or
Yeah, we talked about it on the
12-year-old
covers
or whatever.
episode.
Yeah.
With the
hatred of movie tie-in
the
covers.
movie tie-in cover and how
Yeah.
kids would see Ariana Grande
Yeah.
on the cover and want
Right.
to read it. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I read it in high school. I'm not going to say people
Right.
can't. But
Exactly. Yes.
proceed with caution. Know what you're getting into. Because the content in that it was a lot for me in high school. And going back, and I haven't read it in its entirety since then. I have started it twice, and I'm sitting there going, this book is so dense. There's just so much. It's wonderful language, use of language.
Gregory Maguire is an amazing author.
But there's just a lot there. And I have made it partway through twice and going back to reread it because I do not have an attention span a lot of the time when it comes to reading right now. But my brain moves faster than my mouth when I start getting in on Wicked. It's simply how it goes. So sorry to everyone as I have to work through that. But yeah, it's so interesting to parse that and figure out all of the things that are happening and all of the things that are being said, because it's not a lot of words for the sake of being a lot of words. It's a lot of words that are saying so much. And quite frankly, I love the musical. I love the movie. You lose so much of that as it gets adapted into those forms.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the musical especially plays so much more of a focus on Elphaba and Glinda's budding friendship and the journey that they take through Shiz, and even, Act 2 has been torn apart for timeline issues because they tried to adapt pieces of it because it was just too much to fit into like an 80-minute segment.
Yeah, with the musical, it really feels like Act 2 is not a long period of time, but if you compare it to the story of the book, you realize that is like years and years and years. Now, is it that way in the stage musical? That's its whole own debate.
That'll be for the movie to decide, frankly.
Right. I'm really curious to see what they'll do with that. But in the book, it is a wildly long amount of time that is covered, and they're just pulling pieces of it out of there.
Sure.
So, and it's, the musical is a musical. There's certain things about musicals that you typically are going to see that the book story wasn't going to line up with. So those changes were made because it's not an older musical, but it's not a very current, like, right now musical.
It's over 20 years old.
Yeah, and it's not playing with those standards the way that more modern musicals do. They weren't going to step out quite as far. But expanding that into the movie that is now longer than the musical has given them the opportunity to put some of that back into it and to be more
detailed,
explicit about some of the things that are being said.
Definitely.
So what are some of the more important themes, I guess, in the overall Wicked story? Yes, we are both looking at you.
Yeah, I was just about to be like, well, you can't see. Oh, boy. Repeat the question. I got very aware of eyes.
As everybody stares.
Some of the strongest themes that are presented in the Wicked story.
Right. I think one of the biggest ones is just good and evil. You get that right from the beginning. The song No One Mourns the Wicked is about what is good and what is evil. And you can take that song at face value and it still has a message. But if you look at that song in context with everything going on, and especially if you know how things end in the story, that song is not about Elphaba being wicked. That song is not about the people perceiving Elphaba as wicked. That song is about Glinda knowing she is wicked. And Drew was there with me when I saw this movie for the first time. How long was it? Maybe 30 seconds into the song. I'm sobbing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting next to him just full on sobbing.
I held it a little more together and lasted like 12 minutes.
Okay.
I can't be normal about this. We've talked about that. Because the way they did that song in the movie is so beautifully done, and I was not expecting it. I was not expecting it to be that well done. Because you get a little of that in the stage musical, but with movies, you can get up close. You can get the little facial expressions. You can get the details. And, man, I fell apart. And you see that theme throughout the whole thing. Glinda's trying to be good, but what does that actually mean? Elphaba really points it out to her in the movie of, oh, yes, you're telling someone you never met that you can fix something with skills you don't have.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it may not even need to be fixed. That's the other thing, too, Yeah,
what strikes me about the whole good and evil conversation in Wicked is how much they lean into the, like, propaganda of good and evil, and how the whole, like, history is written by the victor aspect of it. In Act 2, there's a song called Wonderful with lyrics that I should have printed out, but I think I know them. In the bridge of it, it is, a man's called a traitor or liberator, a rich man's a thief or philanthropist, is one a crusader or ruthless invader, it's all in which label is able to persist. And it really digs into the fact that everything is going to be looked at after the fact, and with the eyes of the survivors, the victors, of how everything should be perceived. So and that's terrifying.
There's the bias that's there of what the story becomes instead of what the story really was.
Well, and you see it actively start at the end of the first movie, the end of the first act, where Elphaba has been tricked into making the flying monkeys, and she realizes it. She takes off. And immediately the narrative is, she's wicked. She did this to these creatures.
Get her.
And she's an enemy of everyone. Get her. And the way it turns from, I have no power, so I need you, to, oh, you won't be what I need you to be.
Now you're in deep
So
trouble.
I'm going to turn the story right now. Was a lot. It was very well done. It was... that's one of the things that got me this weekend when I was watching the movie, and then started screaming both in a message to Drew and out loud in my apartment to my cats. I started yelling. It was every time I watch this movie, something else hits a little different. And yeah. But it's also that storyline is in the books, like that is all part of the story of the books, but there is so many other things that get left out now that we've changed the narrative with some of these characters for the play in the musical and the movie. I think Ness is a really fascinating character.
Yeah, I think so too.
In the books, she is born with, she is the second child of 3 instead of the second child of 2. She is born without arms. So she can't walk because she has difficulty balancing. And she gets the shoes from her father to help her balance.
Okay.
If I'm recalling correctly, that they are enchanted in some way, shape, or form to make it easier for her to walk that way. But she's not a wheelchair user in the book the way she is in the musical and the movie.
Right.
Now, some of that change is going to be what can we easily put on stage?
Yes.
So is she a wheelchair user in the musical?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's something that had already changed from the book to
The stage show,
performance.
yes. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's really interesting because she does not go to Shiz at the same time as Elphaba in the book. Elphaba is actually there for 2 years as Glinda's roommate, going through a lot of things happening. And then Nessa turns up.
Okay.
And is just kind of brought into things. But Nessa also isn't the favorite. She is the favored child, but she's not in the same way because she didn't grow up completely without her mother.
Okay.
The way she does in the movie and the musical. She's coming in as the second sister who still, she's described as tragically beautiful a lot of the time. Still very much the vibe. But she is coming into a more established relationship between Glinda and Elphaba, and Bach and Fiyero all being all knowing each other in here. Differently than the books or than the movie and the musical. But she gains the power that she ends up gaining kind of through the same vein, but not as this is handed to you because you are the favorite child. She becomes what she becomes because Elphaba doesn't. She becomes the Wicked Witch of the East because Elphaba runs away and doesn't take over that leadership role in Munchkinland.
Right.
Which,
and just to be clear for those of you that are listening, Elphaba was supposed to be the person in charge of Munchkinland, but decides not to, and Nessa takes over instead.
It's a family title that I believe is through her maternal grandfather when we start the book. And because Elphaba does run off to do her to fight for animal rights and things like that, very similar to how she takes off because of how discovering the wizard is who is persecuting the animals. because she is simply not there, it passes to the eldest child, which now is Nessa.
Right.
So it's also just interesting to me that is through her mother's side, whereas in the movie and the musical,
It's through the father's side.
Squished into her dad was the governor of Munchausen, so she becomes it.
Right.
Those details that we lose as we go from one medium to the other.
Yeah.
But even discounting book Nessa and just focusing on movie and musical, she is fascinating.
She is.
Because she is sort of the sister that is less othered by the world.
Even though she still has a disability, she's still treated better than Elphaba is treated.
And she's this very interesting middle layer of it, where instead of being angry with society for putting any sort of other on her at all, she's mad at Elphaba for dragging her further down, or the perception being that she's dragging her further down.
Okay.
It's this weird power dynamic of, proximity to appropriateness, I guess, or proximity to quote unquote normal.
Okay.
That Nessa isn't taking out her frustration on the people who are making her feel abnormal. She's taking it out on the people who make her feel worse.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because she's portrayed as such a sweet character in the movie, it seems. And there is definitely frustration with her sister in terms of, like, I don't need your help. Like, why are you here? Could you just go home? Like, all of this kind of stuff. She wants to be on her own and live her own experience. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the second movie in terms of flipping that so she does become the wicked witch that she's headed to being.
She's also a character in the second movie that I'm fascinated to see, like, what they're going to do with, because in the stage show, when she gets the shoes in the second act, or when Elphaba enchants the shoes in the second act, she's able to walk with the shoes. In the movie, the actress who plays her is a wheelchair user in her life.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It actually brought up a lot of conversation about the
inherent ableism in it.
Yeah, the inherent ableism of you need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And they've talked about there's going to be a change made to that storyline. And they haven't talked about what it is. And so I'm very interested to see what they've done now, having that perspective in a way that just probably they didn't have in the time when the musical was created.
Sure.
Because the attitudes have
changed,
expanded.
Yes, definitely.
Well, there's also the storyline in the first act, especially, of the silencing of voices, and as it pertains to the animals, and the animals being represented of the lower. I don't want to say lower elements of society, but what society itself, its own hierarchical standards, deems the lower elements.
The animal story. Oh, go ahead, because I will go off.
Yes.
And all because the wizard says we need an enemy. We need something to hate in order for us to be successful and, for him to have all the power ultimately. Yeah.
So the plight of the animals is very interesting to me because of what it is in the books versus the musical and movie. In the book, there's a distinction between animals with a lowercase a, which are animals as we know them, not
non-speaking,
not speaking, not super aware of like the political climate and not teaching at a university, that sort of thing. And then animals with a capital A, who are those animals that have speech and are part of society. Dr. Dillamond in the book is not a history professor. He is a biology professor, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
He's in sciences. And he is actually researching what the biological difference between animals with a lowercase a and animals with an uppercase a is. Because there's so many attacks on animal rights that he's trying to prove that there's whether or not there's that biological difference, because the argument is that there isn't one.
And they're all the same.
They're all the same. And so animals should be seen and not heard. And he does not simply get taken away for his research in the books.
Right.
He is found in his lab. Depending on who is telling the story, either the victim of a tragic accident where he fell on glass and cut himself, or murdered by a TikTok creature. Little robotic thing that Madame Morrible has that is nowhere present in the musical or the movie. But depending on who tells the story is where you get the answer to what happened to him. And that is one of the catalysts for Elphaba really going down this path that she ends up going down, because that was her mentor. That was someone who understood her. She worked in his lab like over the summer type of thing. And it feels higher stakes in the book version.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Than it does.
Instead
like,
of you got an invitation to come to the Emerald City. This is very different than somebody I care about very much was murdered, and I need to go and get this fixed.
Yeah.
And just the passage of time. It's one semester versus years and years of being ingrained in this research and seeing the fight that he gets on it to the ultimate end of that fight. And she's going to be so much more invested and so much more hurt in the book.
Of course.
The academia commentary just in the shiz portion of the books is a time. It's very interesting because you also have, Glinda and Elphaba are, the shiz is divided into different colleges. So Bach is in a different portion of it because it's divided up by girls are in one and boys are at the other and that sort of thing. But they all have access to different things as different parts of those schools, and they all can do different things based on who they are, where they come from, what they're studying, etc. And just the privilege that comes with having access to certain information that only Bach and his friends can get because they're the only ones with access to that library, and things like that is not at all in the movie or the musical, but very, very interesting in the book.
So encompassing what we know about the whole of Wicked, book, movie, musical, etc., what are we hoping to see in the second movie in terms of the expansion of the world? Because I know I'm really interested in seeing the expansion of Elphaba, but predominantly Glinda as their own characters. Glinda in Act 2 doesn't have that much of a story. She is, a part of the machine that's against Elphaba,
right? And
has her role in that is very relevant, especially coming to the end with For Good and all of that. But she gets her own song in the movie, in the second movie rather.
The Girl in the Bubble.
The Girl in the Bubble, and separate from that, they just have 2.5, 3 hours, whatever they're allocating to this story, instead of the 70 or 80 minutes of Act 2. So I really want to see what her expanded role in the world is.
I'm really curious because I've seen rumors that it wasn't confirmed anywhere that I saw it. So, by the time this airs, who knows what we'll know. There were rumors that it's only about 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it's shorter than the first movie.
Okay.
Which second acts usually are shorter than first acts in things anyway. But there's just so much to cover. But we've got those new songs. It has a PG rating instead of the PG-13 rating of the first movie.
Well, that's
last
wild.
I checked.
Maybe because the flying monkey scene is already done and over with.
So I am curious. There is a scene from the stage musical that I would have thought that having something even remotely close to that would have put it into PG-13 territory. So they're going to...
Is that Fiera being captured, or...?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. As long as your mind can get a little.
Okay, that's fair.
A little much. And usually with movies, you see them lean into that more than the musical. So with how I've seen that on stage, I expected that to be a little more. Doesn't seem like it's going to be. Love that song. The thing that I'm looking forward to most is simply No Good Deed, because I am obsessed with that song. That is my song.
Yeah.
I scream singing that in my car a lot. I'm sorry if you've ever come across me and heard me doing that, because yikes. But that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm very curious to see what they do with that. I am also curious if we will get more explanation of the ending than we do in the musical. The musical leaves you a lot of room to just kind of guess at things and things like that. And I could see a world in which there is a change made for the movie to make Glinda more aware of that than she is on the stage.
I'm also interested to see how much of Wizard of Oz gets sucked into it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because there were so many rumors about, who's playing Dorothy? Who's playing Dorothy?
Yeah.
And she's like feet in the musical.
Yeah, in the musical, the most you get is like you hear them off stage a little, I think.
And there's like some shadow imagery in the set sometimes, and yeah, you don't get much.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, I think I'm looking forward to seeing all of it, honestly. Yeah, I think that's going to be really cool to see how they continue the story. Definitely.
I saw the first movie in theaters twice, and I will at least do that with this one, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening. And if you have anything to add to the conversation, please email us and let us know. And we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Distracted Librarians.
Many thanks to BCTV for their support in recording, editing, and releasing this podcast, and to the Friends of the Library for sponsoring closed captioning on every episode.
If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to reach out to us at distracted@btpl.org.
Until then, keep those pages turning and those screens lighting up. We'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions expressed in the Distracted Librarians podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Bloomfield Township Public Library, Bloomfield Community Television, the Birmingham Area Cable Board, or its producers or production staff.